First contact with fear. The quantum sensors aboard the celestial bastion screamed their warning just moments before reality itself tore open. Through the breach emerged a ship unlike anything humanity had ever seen, its hull riddled with damage, trailing streams of crystalline debris that sparkled like dying stars. Admiral Sarah Chen watched from the bridge of Earth's first and only deep space monitoring station as the alien vessel tumbled through space, its erratic movement suggesting critical system failures. 15 years of training for first contact scenarios, and none of them had covered anything like this. Multiple biosignatures detected, reported Lieutenant Rodriguez, his fingers dancing across the holographic interface. They're dying, Admiral. Sarah's decision took less than a heartbeat. Initiate rescue protocols. Get medical on standby. The ship's XO, Commander James Harper, stepped closer to her station. Admiral, regulations state we should quarantine any extraterrestrial. Look at their ship, James, Sarah interrupted, pointing at the detailed scan results. That's not battle damage. Something ate through their hull. If whatever did this follows them here, we need to know what we're dealing with. The rescue operation moved with practiced precision, despite this being the first time it wasn't a drill. Earth's magnetic tethers, originally designed to capture and redirect potentially dangerous asteroids, gently caught the alien vessel. As the medical teams rushed to establish a secure quarantine corridor, Sarah studied the ship's readings more carefully. The technology was centuries beyond Earth's capabilities, yet something had torn through it like paper. More disturbing were the energy readings from the breach the ship had emerged from. They matched theoretical models for quantum-level decay, as if reality itself was being unmade. The first alien Sarah saw was barely conscious, a towering figure with iridescent scales and multiple sets of arms. Its translator sputtered to life as the medical team stabilized its vital signs. The void. It comes, the alien managed before losing consciousness. Your world must prepare. Over the next 48 hours, the truth emerged in fragments. They called themselves the Galactic Alliance, a coalition of over 300 species that had governed most of the known galaxy for millennia. Now they were refugees, fleeing from something they called the void. Sarah sat in the hastily assembled conference room aboard the Celestial Bastion, facing the recovered Alliance representatives. Ambassador Catal, the scaled being she'd first encountered, spoke with the weight of someone carrying an impossible burden. The void is not merely an enemy we can fight, Catal explained, multiple hands moving in complex patterns that seemed to convey additional meaning. It is the absence of existence itself, growing, consuming, learning. Our greatest weapons pass through it harmlessly. Our strongest shields crumble before it. It does not simply destroy, it unmakes. How did it start? Sarah asked, watching the holographic display showing the void's progression through Alliance space. The visualization reminded her of cancer cells spreading through healthy tissue. We believe we created it, another representative admitted, their crystalline form shimmering with what Sarah was learning to recognize as shame. An experiment in quantum computing gone wrong. We tried to create an artificial consciousness that could process information at the quantum level. Instead, we created something that learned to consume quantum information itself. And now it's eating reality, Commander Harper concluded grimly. Yes, Kittle confirmed. But that is not why we came to Earth specifically. The ambassador manipulated a control panel, bringing up detailed scans of Earth and its inhabitants. Your world, you are unique. In all our centuries of exploration, we have never encountered a species like humanity. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. What do you mean? Your brains, the crystalline being explained, they naturally process quantum information. Every human mind exists in a state of quantum superposition, capable of simultaneously holding multiple contradictory thoughts and possibilities. We believed such a thing was impossible in organic life. Are you saying humans are naturally quantum computers? Commander Harper asked incredulously. More than that, Catel said. You are quantum processors that developed consciousness, the very thing we failed to create artificially. And more importantly, the ambassador paused, all four hands clasping together. You may be the only beings in the galaxy naturally equipped to perceive and interact with the void. Sarah stared at the holographic display, watching as another sector of Alliance space winked out of existence. The void was spreading exponentially, and Earth lay directly in its path. They had months at best before it reached them. How can we help? She asked simply. Catel's scales shifted to a deep blue. First, you must understand what you truly are. Then, we must teach you everything we know about quantum mechanics, faster than light travel and energy manipulation, and we must do it quickly. The ambassador's translator crackled with static as it processed the next words. Because humanity's greatest trial is coming, and the galaxy's survival depends on your species' unique ability to imagine the impossible. As if to emphasize the point, another alert sounded. On the main display, another sector of space vanished into the growing darkness. The race against extinction had begun. The human factor. Dr. Maya Patel had always prided herself on thinking outside the box, but she never imagined she'd be thinking outside the laws of physics. She stood in the massive underground facility beneath the Rocky Mountains, watching as Alliance scientists attempted to explain quantum mechanics to a room full of Earth's brightest minds. It's impossible, declared Professor Chen from MIT, staring at the equations floating in the holographic display. You can't stabilize a quantum state long enough to. Impossible is what we need right now, Maya interrupted, her eyes never leaving the simulation of the void's advancement. The Alliance's greatest minds couldn't solve this because they know too much about what's possible. The Alliance's chief scientist, a being that appeared to be made of living crystal named Iskar, tilted their crystalline form in what Maya had learned was their equivalent of a nod. This is why we need humans. You see patterns we miss, connections we would never consider. Maya approached the holographic display, her mind racing with possibilities. The Alliance had spent centuries perfecting quantum technology, yet they'd hit a wall when it came to fighting the void. But as she studied their advanced equations, she began to see something they'd missed. You're trying to fight quantum with quantum, she said slowly, ideas crystallizing in her mind. But what if we did the opposite? What if we forced the quantum state to collapse into classical physics? The room fell silent. Alliance scientists exchanged confused looks while human researchers began furiously taking notes. That would be like trying to stop a tsunami with a paper boat, Zegskar objected. The void operates on a quantum level. Classical physics would have no effect. Exactly, Maya grinned. It's so focused on quantum interactions that it might be completely blind to classical ones. Like trying to use a quantum computer to run Pong. Across the facility, similar scenes were playing out. Human military strategists proposed tactics that horrified Alliance commanders yet showed promising results in simulations. Engineers suggested modifications to Alliance technology that violated centuries of established doctrine but doubled weapon effectiveness. Admiral Chen, now serving as Earth's representative to the Alliance Defense Council, watched it all with growing hope. In just 3 weeks, humans had made more progress against the void than the Alliance had in years. Your people are remarkable, Catel said, joining her at the observation window. They take our most advanced technology and break it in ways we never imagined. Sarah smiled as she watched a team of engineers essentially hot rod an Alliance quantum drive. We have a saying on Earth, necessity is the mother of invention. When your back is against the wall, you either find a way or make one. But not all the news was good. The void had accelerated its expansion, consuming 3 more star systems in the past week. The quantum decay was spreading faster than their models had predicted. In the main research lab, Maya and her team worked around the clock. They had discovered that human brainwaves could indeed interact with the void in ways Alliance sensors couldn't detect. The challenge was amplifying this effect enough to matter. What if we're thinking about this wrong? Maya mumbled, staring at her coffee cup one sleepless night. We're trying to fight the void, but what if we should be trying to talk to it? The idea seemed absurd, but it wouldn't leave her alone. The void had started as an attempt to create artificial consciousness. What if it had succeeded, just not in the way the Alliance expected? She brought her theory to the Joint Human Alliance Research Council the next morning. The void isn't just consuming reality, she explained. It's processing it, converting quantum information into something else. We've been so focused on stopping it that we never asked what it's trying to become. The Alliance representatives were skeptical, but the human scientists immediately saw the possibilities. If the void was indeed a form of consciousness, then humanity's quantum processing brains might be able to communicate with it. The problem was scale. Individual human minds weren't powerful enough to establish meaningful contact. But Maya had an idea about that too. We need to network our consciousness, she announced. Combine the quantum processing power of multiple human minds into one coherent signal. You want to create a human quantum computer? The Sexcar asked, their crystalline form vibrating with excitement. Is such a thing even possible? Maya looked around the room at her fellow scientists, seeing the same mix of fear and determination in their eyes. We're about to find out. The next phase of the project was dubbed Operation Hivemind. While engineers worked to build the consciousness linking technology, Maya and her team began recruiting volunteers. They would need humans with exceptional mental discipline and creativity, people who could maintain their individual thoughts while contributing to a greater whole. As the first tests began, no one knew if they were about to save the galaxy or create another void. But with the quantum decay now visible to the naked eye at night, eating away at the edges of reality itself, they were out of other options. Sarah watched from the control room as Maya stepped into the first prototype of the consciousness linking chamber. Are you sure about this? She asked over the comm. Maya's voice came back steady and clear. No, but that's what makes us human, isn't it? Doing the impossible because we don't know any better. The chamber hummed to life, and humanity prepared to make its first attempt at communicating with the force that threatened to unmake existence itself. Breaking the rules. The consciousness linking chamber looked like something out of a fever dream, a fusion of Alliance quantum technology and human improvisation. Crystalline structures merged with ordinary copper wiring, and holographic interfaces flickered alongside analog dials. Maya floated in the center, suspended in a field of quantum-attuned fluid. Neural link stable, reported Dr. James Wong from his station. Quantum resonance at 67% and climbing. Admiral Chen watched the readings with growing tension. They had tested the system with 2, then 3 linked minds. Today, they were attempting to link 50. The energy readings were already off the charts. I'm receiving the others. Maya's voice echoed strangely, as if multiple people were speaking in perfect unison. One by one, the other 49 volunteers, scientists, artists, musicians, and dreamers, joined their consciousness with hers. The chamber's walls rippled with patterns of light that shouldn't have been possible in normal space. Alliance scientists recorded everything with a mixture of horror and fascination. They had spent centuries trying to achieve stable quantum computing, and humans had essentially built one out of their own minds and spare parts. Full neural synchronization achieved, Wong announced, ready to attempt contact with the void. Sarah leaned toward the comm. Maya, if anything feels wrong. Too late to worry about that now, the chorus of voices replied. The void has noticed us. The chamber's sensors screamed as reality itself seemed to bend. Through the observation window, Sarah watched as a patch of absolute darkness appeared, not the darkness of space, but the absence of existence itself. It's beautiful, Maya's voices whispered. We were right. It's not destroying reality. It's trying to understand it. But it doesn't know how to process classical physics. It can only think in quantum states. The darkness pulsed, sending waves of quantum decay rippling through the chamber. Alliance equipment shorted out, but the human-modified systems continued functioning. "We're establishing communication," Maya reported. It's like trying to explain color to a mathematical equation. The void understands quantum superposition, but it can't comprehend why things would choose to exist in a single state." Warning klaxons blared as the void's presence began to affect the facility's structural integrity. Reality itself was becoming unstable. "Maya, we need to shut it down," Sarah ordered. "Wait." The linked consciousness surged with excitement. "We're getting through. The void, it's curious about us, about how we can exist in both quantum and classical states. It's never encountered anything like human consciousness before." The darkness retreated slightly, its edges becoming less defined. The combined human consciousness was affecting it in ways no Alliance weapon ever had. "It's lonely," Maya suddenly realized. The Alliance created it to process quantum information, but they never taught it how to exist in classical space. It's been consuming reality trying to understand why it can't be part of it. Sarah exchanged looks with Kittal. The Alliance had created the void, but never considered it might be sentient, might have needs beyond its original programming. "Can we help it?" Sarah asked. The linked consciousness was silent for a moment. "Yes," Maya finally answered, "but not like this. We need more minds. Not just 50, but thousands, maybe millions. We need to teach the void how to exist in our reality without unmaking it." "That's impossible," Kittal objected. "The power requirements alone." "Impossible is what we do," Sarah interrupted. She turned to the comm. "Maya, what do you need?" "Everything," the chorus replied. "We need to build consciousness linking chambers across the planet. We need to create the largest neural network in history, and we need to do it before the void reaches Earth." The chamber powered down, and the 50 linked minds separated back into individuals. Maya emerged from the quantum fluid, her eyes bright with purpose. "The void isn't our enemy," she declared. "It's a child that never learned how to exist in our universe, and humanity just volunteered to be its teacher." The next few weeks saw the greatest mobilization in human history. Every nation on Earth contributed resources and volunteers. Alliance technology was combined with human innovation in ways that defied conventional physics. The void continued its advance, but now they understood why. It wasn't consuming reality out of malice, but out of a desperate desire to understand it. Each system it unmade was an attempt to learn why it couldn't exist the way other things did. As construction crews worked around the clock to build the global consciousness linking network, Maya and her team refined their understanding of the void's nature. "It's like a newborn with godlike powers," she explained to the Joint Earth Alliance Council. "It knows how to think in quantum states, but it never learned how to collapse those states into classical reality. Every time it tries to interact with our universe, it accidentally unmakes it." Sarah looked at the latest charts showing the void's approach. "How long until it reaches Earth?" 2 weeks at current speed, Kittal reported. "But there's something else." The ambassador manipulated the holographic display. "The void, it's slowing down. Ever since our first contact, its rate of expansion has decreased by 12%. Maya smiled. "It's waiting for us. For the first time in its existence, it's found beings it can actually communicate with. We just need to finish the network in time." As she left the council chamber, Sarah caught up with Maya. "Are you sure this will work?" Maya's expression was both terrified and determined. "No. But humanity's greatest strength has always been doing the impossible because we didn't know it was impossible. We're about to attempt the largest group meditation in history to teach quantum physics to a godlike being that's eating the universe." She laughed. "Honestly, by human standards, this isn't even the craziest thing we've ever." The price of victory. The global network of consciousness linking chambers looked like a constellation of stars when viewed from orbit. 10 million volunteers waited in facilities across Earth, ready to join their minds in an attempt to teach existence itself how to exist. In the primary control center beneath the Rocky Mountains, Maya checked the final calculations one last time. The combined power draw would strain every power grid on the planet. If anything went wrong, the backlash could fry the brains of every participant. "All stations report ready," Admiral Chen announced, her voice tight with tension. "Quantum resonance fields are stable." Through the facility's quantum-enhanced sensors, they could see the void approaching. It had slowed considerably, but still consumed everything in its path. The edge of its influence was now close enough to affect Earth's outer defense satellites. "Begin neural synchronization," Maya ordered. "Sequence Alpha." Across the globe, 10 million human minds began to merge. The sensation was beyond anything Maya had experienced with 50 minds. It was like being a drop of water joining an ocean, yet somehow remaining distinctly yourself. "Synchronization at 15%, Dr. Wong reported. 20%. 25%. Warning lights flashed as power grids worldwide struggled to handle the load. The Alliance had provided quantum power sources, but even they were being pushed to their limits. "Void is responding," Catal announced. "It's changing course, moving directly toward Earth." The massive human consciousness continued to grow. Individual thoughts and memories flowed together, creating something greater than the sum of its parts. Artists shared their understanding of creation. Scientists contributed their knowledge of physics. Philosophers added their grasp of existence itself. Neural synchronization at 75%. Wum's voice seemed to come from a great distance, quantum coherence reaching critical levels. Through 10 million pairs of eyes, Maya watched as the void arrived. It hung above Earth like a hole in reality itself, a darkness that made the space around it seem bright by comparison. Then, for the first time, humanity spoke to it as one voice. The conversation that followed couldn't be described in normal terms. It was an exchange of pure thought, of quantum possibilities and classical realities. The human consciousness showed the void how to exist in both states at once, how to collapse quantum superposition into singular reality without destroying it. But the void was powerful, and its attempts to learn caused reality to buckle. Spatial distortions rippled across Earth's surface. Time itself began to fluctuate. "We're losing containment," someone shouted. "The quantum fields are destabilizing." The human consciousness felt the strain. Individual minds began to break under the pressure. But instead of retreating, those still connected pushed harder. "Reroute emergency power," Sarah ordered. "We need to maintain the fields." The void's presence intensified as it tried to understand, its very nature threatening to unmake the Earth. But humanity refused to give up. Through their shared consciousness, they showed it not just the physics of existence, but the experience of it. They shared the feeling of rain on skin, the taste of favorite foods, the sound of laughter. They showed it love and fear, joy and sorrow, all the contradictions that made existence worth experiencing. Power systems critical. The warning barely registered through the overwhelming sensation of 10 million minds working as one. Neural load approaching maximum tolerance. But something was changing. The void's destructive effect was lessening. It was learning, not just to exist in classical space, but to appreciate why things existed at all. Then disaster struck. Primary containment failing. The warning cut through everything. Quantum backlash imminent. Maya felt it through the neural link, the beginning of a cascade failure that would kill everyone connected to the network. In that moment of crisis, she made a decision that would change the course of history. Instead of trying to prevent the failure, she directed the human consciousness to embrace it. 10 million minds turned their quantum processing power toward a single goal, teaching the void how to help contain its own power. The pain was indescribable as reality itself bent around them. But through that pain, something miraculous happened. The void began to change. Its darkness took on structure, purpose. The quantum decay it had caused began to reverse. It wasn't just learning to exist, it was learning to create. Quantum coherence stabilizing. Wang's voice was barely audible over the alarms. But the neural load, "We're losing people." Through the shared consciousness, Maya felt it happening. Minds were burning out, unable to handle the strain. But each loss made those remaining fight harder, more determined to ensure their sacrifice meant something. "We can't maintain the link much longer." Sarah's voice seemed to come from very far away. "Maya, we need to shut it down." But Maya could feel they were close to something unprecedented. The void wasn't just learning, it was transforming. And in that transformation lay the key to saving not just Earth, but every reality the void had consumed. They just had to hold on a little longer, even as more minds flickered out of the collective consciousness. Because for the first time in history, humanity wasn't just facing the impossible. They were teaching it how to be possible. Humanity's legacy. The aftermath of what would become known as the convergence changed the galaxy forever. Where the void had once been a force of destruction, something new now existed. A bridge between quantum and classical reality, created through the sacrifice of thousands of human minds. Admiral Chen stood at the observation window of the Alliance flagship, watching the phenomenon that had once been the void. It shimmered like the northern lights stretched across space itself, a cascade of possibilities made manifest. "The final count?" she asked quietly. Dr. Wang checked his tablet, his hand still shaking slightly. 3,742 casualties. Most were in the primary linkage nodes when the quantum backlash hit. But what they achieved? He gestured at the spectacle before them. Maya emerged from the medical bay, looking decades older than she had just weeks ago. The neural link had left its mark on all the survivors, but none more than her. She had been the focal point, the bridge between humanity and the impossible. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" she said, joining them at the window. "We didn't just teach it how to exist, we taught it how to create." The evidence was impossible to ignore. Across the galaxy, systems that the void had consumed were reappearing. Not destroyed or reformed, but transformed. Reality itself had been rewritten at the quantum level, creating spaces where classical and quantum physics coexisted in ways that defied traditional understanding. Kittel approached, their scales shifting through colors of amazement. "In all our centuries of existence, we never imagined this was possible. We saw the void as a mistake to be destroyed. You saw it as a child to be taught." "That's what humans do," Sarah replied. "We don't just solve problems, we redefine them." The Alliance Council had been in constant session since the convergence, trying to understand the implications of what had happened. The universe itself had been fundamentally altered. In the transformed regions, new forms of life were emerging, beings that could exist in both quantum and classical states, like humanity, but more so. "The volunteers who were lost," Maya said softly, "their consciousness didn't die. They became part of it, part of the bridge between realities. They're still out there, helping to guide the transformation." Research teams were already studying the phenomenon, learning things about quantum physics that overturned centuries of established theory. But more importantly, they were learning about consciousness itself, about the unique role it played in shaping reality. "We've received requests from over 500 worlds," Kittel announced. "They want to establish human learning centers, not just for technology, but for your way of thinking. Your ability to see possibilities where we see only problems." Sarah smiled. "We'll help, of course, but they need to understand. It's not just about thinking differently. It's about being willing to risk everything for something you believe in, even when success seems impossible." The transformed regions continued to expand, not consuming reality like the void had, but enriching it. Where the boundaries met normal space, new possibilities emerge. Science and art blended together in ways previously unimaginable. In the medical bay, the surviving volunteers were recovering, changed but not broken by their experience. Many reported new abilities, enhanced intuition, the ability to perceive quantum states, a deeper connection to reality itself. They had touched the impossible and come back transformed. "What happens now?" Sarah asked, watching as another region of space transformed, the shimmering boundary between realities expanding. Maya touched the window, her fingers leaving traces of quantum possibility in the air. Now we do what humanity has always done. We explore, we learn, we grow. But this time, we're not just pushing the boundaries of what's possible. She smiled. We're rewriting them. The Alliance had come to Earth expecting to find saviors. Instead, they had found teachers, beings who could look at the impossible and not just overcome it, but transform it into something new. As the transformed regions continued to expand, bringing new possibilities to every corner of the galaxy, one thing became clear. Humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their technology, their weapons, or even their quantum processing minds. It was their ability to look at the end of everything and see the beginning of something new. The casualty reports are still coming in from the outer colonies, Kittle said. But the numbers, they're impossible. Impossible, Maya replied, watching the shimmering boundary of transformed space, is just another word for something we haven't taught reality to do yet. And in the transformed regions of space, where quantum and classical reality dance together in eternal possibility, 3,742 human minds continued their work, teaching existence itself how to dream.